Thank you. Good morning. I'm obviously David. Mary Ann and I are going to tag team on this one in Charlotte. Show of hands, who was here in the first session? Okay, so this will build nicely. The design of all three sessions this morning was for Charlotte to build sort of the understanding of the science behind the work that we're doing. We're going to try to give you, Mary Ann, a little more practical how this applies to business, how we've applied it to our own business, Merit's Global Events, how it impacts events like National Wood Flooring Association, the experiences you've been having the last couple of years as we've exposed that association to some of our thinking, scientific basis and understanding, and also event design. And I think you've seen the impact of that. In the third session, Michael will be interviewing three members so that they can share their personal experiences and how they have taken this work and how it's impacted their businesses. So that's the flow of the sessions. So make sure we've got a good attendance for Michael on the third session as well. We are really pleased to be here. We've been working with National Wood Flooring Association for almost 20 years. And our division of Experience, if you've seen that name, James, who is right here, James has been, if you're an exhibitor, on the trade show floor, and this is a really important relationship for us. And we have a number of their staff attend our own annual meeting. It's our client event, held in August every year. And we did a part of this presentation last year, and Michael and Anita and some others sat through it and thought this would be really interesting content for this meeting. I would have guessed that the content you heard from Charlotte and you're going to hear from us is not what you would typically get at one of your annual meetings. And we understand that, and we're going to try to make it as impactful as we can. Feel free to interrupt at any point. Would love to answer any questions. I'm going to open it up and then I'm going to turn it to Mary Ann, and we'll hopefully keep this interesting and impactful for the next 45 minutes to an hour. So what I wanted to do is start a little bit about the journey that we've been on with Merit's Global Events. We're a company that was originally formed, Merit's Travel, in the 50s, part of the Merit's family of businesses that is about 122 years old. Steve Merit's is our owner, fourth generation, and we're based in really the mecca of the universe, Fenton, Missouri. If anyone's been to Missouri. Fenton, I moved there 5 years ago. I was living in San Diego. Made the logical move from Paradise in San Diego to St. Louis, Missouri. But it's worked out really well, and it's a great company. And it's a company that I joined that I think had a really strong foundation of a business culture. When I was interviewing and talking to Steve and other executives at Merit's Holdings, and there's a whole family of businesses and that I won't bore you with, but it's a really interesting family business. I try to get them to describe their culture. And really the only word I kept hearing time and time again is we're a people-centered business. We're a people-centered business. It's all about our people. It's the little things that matter. It's all about our people, which is great. Great foundation. But as Mary Ann and others in the business started looking at how do we want to continue to build and amplify the culture of our company, we thought there was some additional work that we needed to do. So we started down a journey, and you're going to hear that word several times today, that it really is a journey. And if you're going to ask us if we've got this all figured out and it's all buttoned up, hell no. I mean, we're still learning, we're experimenting. We use the methodology of ready, fire, aim. And if you're a hunter, it's probably not a great analogy, but for business, it works well for us. So we throw a lot of things against the wall. We see what works, what sticks, and then we try to improve and focus and aim as we've already sort of fired the cannon shot. So as we've been on this journey, I had the pleasure, Charlotte's predecessor, the original director of the Merit's Institute, Mary Beth McEwen, and I went to an event called Conscious Capitalism. Has anyone heard of Conscious Capitalism? Show of hands. One or two. It's a fascinating event. We've got some resources that we've handed out on all the tables, additional reading, additional resources, et cetera, that you may find interesting if you like the content that we're sharing today. If not, you can just make a paper airplane and entertain yourself. But I got to go to Conscious Capitalism. It was in San Diego that year. It was just last week, held in Chicago. So it's in April every year, and then they have a CEO forum in October every year. And it is it was I think a significant event for me. And as you know, you go to a conference and you sort of, see a light or have an epiphany or really get a sort of a big idea. Came back, and how do you share that? How do you get others on the team to embark on the journey with you? And that's a constant challenge. But what I learned at Conscious Capitalism was from business leaders who have taken a lot of the concepts we're going to share today and made them work for their businesses. Companies like Whole Foods, companies like Southwest Airlines, Trader Joe's, on and on and on. This list of really interesting businesses, from manufacturing to services business to restaurants, and how they've taken some of these core principles and made it really drive their business forward and really make a difference. So I would really encourage you to, if you can, attend Conscious Capitalism. If not, read the book. There's a number of great books. Firms of Endearment by Raj Sisodia is one that is a great one. There's a St. Louis-based company called Barry Waymiller that is one of the really leading sort of people-driven, cultural-driven companies in the country, and we've learned a lot from them. One of the key concepts we walked away from was the concept of a dual bottom line. And when I heard from these other business leaders how they defined that, what it meant to them, it's one of the key things that we started focusing in on at Merit's Global Events. And it is an equal focus, an equal celebration of both the financial bottom line and the people bottom line. And our core value, and Marianne will go into this a little bit more, is first take good care of each other. And we define that as taking good care of our people, so all of our employees and associates, our clients and their guests, our supplier partners, and the communities that we're active in. And that could be where we have offices. We have offices around the US and globally. So not only in those communities, but we do events. We do 9,000 events on behalf of our clients around the globe every year. So we're in just about every community you can imagine. And how do we have an impact, and how do we make sure that we're helping our clients extend their brand and their culture in all those communities? So we have a stakeholder model that I'll talk about in a little bit that is really focused on the dual bottom line. And I can guarantee you when you start talking about that, there's a lot of head nodding, yeah, that makes sense. But at the end of the day, everyone sort of thinks, okay, you're just going to slide back and only focus on the financial, because that's really what's important. But if you're really dedicated and committed to the culture that you're building in your business, then you can have an effective focus on the dual bottom line. So a couple things I wanted to share are 4 principles that you learn from Conscious Capitalism. And they are higher purpose, conscious leadership, stakeholder orientation, and a conscious culture. So a couple words on each one of those. A higher purpose is, and Marianne will share what ours is for Merit's Global Events, but a higher purpose is, if I asked you what business are you in, anyone want to offer an answer? Are you in the floor installation business? Are you Stanley Steamer and you're into health and cleaning because of allergens? That's what I would typically expect the answers to be. But if you start listening to businesses like Charlotte described, where Southwest Airlines, their higher purpose is love, or Apple Computers, or Starbucks, it really starts sharing a higher purpose. And I think they really encourage every business to make sure you have the why. Okay? Second is conscious leadership. It has to start from the top, and that was one of our biggest challenges. I went to this program, it was 3+ years ago, and came back, and I'd really been excited about what I had learned and heard, but how do I get a team to share and sort of come along for the journey? Now, I was lucky in that we had a great leadership team at our company that just innately got it. They had all sort of been wanting that, and so it was a very easy process for us. My guess is that's not going to be the case in most businesses. It's going to be a challenge. So you've got to make sure that your leadership is educated, your leadership has total buy-in, and lives and breathes and walks the walk and talks the talk. Stakeholder orientation, I told you who our 4 stakeholders are, but it's going to differ for everyone and every individual company there is. But you have to make sure you identify those stakeholders. that you start working on educating those stakeholders so that they understand the foundation that you're building from. And that will give you the foundation of trust. It'll give you the foundation of knowledge that you can then build a successful cultural journey and the focus on the dual bottom line. And then finally, the conscious culture. It really is being an aware business. Just by putting out to our teams that we were going to start focusing on the dual bottom line started a shift. It's not an immediate shift, it's not a 100% shift, but it starts changing the direction of conversation, of the business operations, and how those filters are used in every decision you're making as a business. So if you go to Conscious Capitalism, you'd hear about these 4 primary foundation platforms that are critical in their minds for really developing a conscious business. And this is how they define that model in a very easy and sort of intuitive model. Purpose, culture, stakeholders, leadership, and that ultimately was going to drive a conscious business. So with that, I am going to play a video, and hopefully we have fixed the audio. And this is a video that was put together by the Merits Institute that'll give you a little further foundation of understanding of the science and people principles involved.
The Merits Institute is pleased to share with you the inaugural Unleashing Human Potential Research Report. What is your measure of success? If you place yourself in the future and look back at your career, will you feel fulfilled if your success has been measured by the amount of revenue and profitability you created? While this is good, will that be enough? Might there be another measure of success? Perhaps it's a measure around the people whose lives you touched along the way. Think for a minute about how many lives you touch, whether they're your customers, your channel partners, your employees. Now think for a minute how many people are in their families. Do you have a number in mind? Now this is more than just a number, this is people. So the real question is, what do you want your impact to be on these people? What if you adopted a dual bottom line of bettering the business and also bettering the lives of the people touched by the business? When you think about bettering the lives of the people you touch, is it enough for you to simply satisfy them? Is it enough to just engage them? Might there be something more? What if, through their connection to your organization and the programs you run, people experience more joy, more fulfillment in their own life and in their work? What if your goal is to unleash their potential as a human being? The Merits Institute's vision is unleashing human potential. Now we knew in order for this vision to become a reality, we had to define what that meant, and we needed a measure for success. Our definition of unleashing human potential has 2 parts. The first is a positive emotional experience, experiencing joy from being part of the company. Now positive emotions really matter, whereas negative emotions take our energy toward protecting ourselves. Positive emotions allow us to explore, to grow, to expand our contributions in a very deeply fulfilling way. But it takes more than just a positive emotional experience to realize our potential. It also takes meaningful work. And that's work where there's a sense of fulfillment that the person has in what they personally do every day. Now Maslow taught us, he said the only happy people that he knew were the ones who worked well at something they considered important, something they considered bigger than themselves. In other words, they had to be in service to something bigger than themselves. Our measure of unleashing human potential significantly outperformed measures of engagement and satisfaction correlated to all of these business outcomes. Past financial performance, confidence in the future performance of the company, employee satisfaction, employee engagement, retention, employee advocacy, and even employment brand. We also looked at customer brand. So you might be asking yourself, how do I go about achieving this dual bottom line? Now we found 7 tangible steps that you can take that are very highly related to unleashing human potential. They're also highly correlated to every single business outcome with data to back this up. The first action a company should take is commit to improving to the lives of all stakeholders. Second big action a company should take is to focus on the customer as the top priority of the business and improve the lives of all stakeholders, both of these things together. The third big action, create a personal connection to the company purpose. So the fourth big action is to drive alignment through both the executive actions where executives' actions are completely consistent with their words, and also through shared goals. Fifth action, invest in learning and growth at both the individual and the cultural level. Six, create a socially enriching environment through recognition and reinforcement. So the seventh action that we hope you are willing to consider taking is to unleash human potential and to actually set the goal to unleash human potential. So what is your measure of success? Better yet, what are your measures of success? And are you willing to drive the dual bottom line of both people results and business results? The dual bottom line of better business and better lives without a trade-off.
Okay. So hopefully that adds a little more complexity and detail on this approach about a dual bottom line. A couple things. One is research has been done by Conscious Capitalism, Raj Sisodia in particular, on the business results from companies that have taken this approach, and at a minimum, financial bottom line results 14 times more profitable, more positive business results than businesses that are not taking that approach. So if you look at one of those bottom lines, financial, this approach really does have significant impact on one of those bottom lines. Obviously, if you're focusing on your people, it's also going to have a very positive impact on the results from your people. And we do a lot of different measurements. Marianne will talk about a couple of those. One is our voice in the employee, where we've done a lot of work with Dr. Paul Zak trying to measure trust, the evolution of trust over the last 5 years in our business, and then how people view their own personal brand and the connection with the brand that they're working with. So really important work. Now, one of the examples that we look at in our marketplace, obviously we're an events company, is how does this impact the work that we do on a daily basis? One of the best examples that we found is Starbucks. And we're fortunate to be the partner of Starbucks on their big general manager or their stores manager conference that's held every other year. If you go back to 2012, when Howard Schultz wrote the book Onward, has anyone read that book? If not, it's a great read. It talks about the dilemma that Starbucks was facing in 2012. We all assume that they've been on this growth path forever. They were teetering on going out of business in 2012. Howard Schultz took a huge risk by pulling all the store managers together at an enormous expense, and their focus was one cup, one customer, one partner, one experience at a time. They had to get back to that. He felt like his stores had lost that. They had lost their connection to their why, and this event is the signature moment in their company's history that turned them back around, and now they're obviously, back to very positive, aggressive growth. Here's some comments that we have seen. I'm just a couple slides, heavy text, I apologize for that, but it really shows the connection that attendees had with the brand, with the culture that they had built, and getting them to buy into this vision for the future. So they brought them all together down in Houston, 2012, and they wanted to connect them with the company's core values and motivating them to deliver against their business aspirations. A lot of different feedback from attendees. Here's a great one. It was incredibly rewarding to be surrounded by people from all different parts of the continent, shared my same passion, vision, ambition, and struggles. There was a station that allowed you to voice your concerns. So they had a sort of a complaint box, if you will, but a live one at the conference so they could hear from their stakeholders what was working, what was not working, and then making a commitment to how they were going to change their stores moving forward. And then what I thought was, I'm excited to see how the inspiration translates into sustainable growth in my development and my store. So we can see the connection between the sciences, we can see the connection between experience design, we can see the connection between the focus on the dual bottom line, and then how you can bring that to life in your company, how you can bring that to life in your events, which Michael will help share that story in the third session today. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Marianne, who's going to share a little bit more about the journey and how we've brought this to life in our company. Marianne.
Thank you, David. Good morning. So I have the pleasure really of bringing together the concepts that I think many of you heard this morning from Charlotte and also David's presentation, and we talked to you about our journey with Maris Global Events on that dual bottom line and reaching that really purpose on unleashing human potential. So, as you heard earlier in the video, really, the dual bottom line is really about people and your business. So, as we went on our journey or started our journey, we tried to really balance both, and you'll hear how we do that. And whenever I stand in front of our employees, I talk about finding joy in the journey. And when I first said this, people thought, really? Joy? We're going to talk about joy in business and on our jobs. And joy isn't really just about we're all happy. It's joy in that emotion that we're really feeling fulfilled about the challenge and the risk and the accomplishments that we're taking. So people in the organization originally they didn't understand that. It was new words. So we're really kind of immersing new language into the organization that you'll hear. But this was a journey that it's not an easy journey. And as David said, David came into the organization and started to actually do some research outside the organization about conscious capitalism, and came into the leadership group, of which I'm a part of, and talked about firm of endearment and conscious capitalism, and we had no idea what he was talking about. And we said, well, we shouldn't really be talking about that with our employees because we don't know what that means. So we started to really, as a leadership team, to really learn and find out about conscious capitalism. But it really was not, we didn't do it because David said to. We really had a business issue. And that issue really, I would say, started with a journey from several years ago where we used to go and take employee satisfaction surveys. And our employee satisfaction surveys were fairly low. They were low. People were at a stage in the economy where they were really scared. So people were fearful. They were fearful for their jobs. They were not sure if they trusted us. So we needed to do some work on the trust. And we would think about it as satisfaction. Well, satisfaction really is just that. Okay, I'm satisfied with my job. But am I really aligned and engaged with the organization? So we did some work on some listening, and we went out, we did some focus groups, and we learned that people felt that we weren't really telling them exactly what they really wanted to hear about our business, our communications. So we changed that. We engaged people in our communication strategies, and then we saw in our ratings that our engagement went up. But as we then began to learn more about what the dual bottom line meant, we then said engagement's not enough. People want to really be aligned with our purpose, and they want to feel like they can achieve. So we started to learn about trust. And if you were in the session earlier with Charlotte talked about trust, and when we're thinking about the 4 drives, right, for human behavior, there is this something called the drive to bond. And when you have the drive to bond, that's the drive to trust, or builds trust. And there's a gentleman that Charlotte referenced, Paul Zak, who is a neuroscientist out of California, Claremont University, whom the Merits Institute has really partnered with to learn about how we can build trust in organizations. So we engaged with Paul and said, how can we really create a new experience for our employees? Paul is someone who works with Zappos and other companies to really find ways to build trust in the organization. And there's something that you heard about oxytocin. Anybody remember the oxytocin? chemical, hormone. When you release oxytocin in humans, then you will begin to build trust. So Paul taught us about how do you release oxytocin. And he gave us some ideas around things that we can do in the organization, different programs. But the first thing he did with us as a leadership team, he brought us together to really try to think about easy things for that and demonstration of that drive to bond and what could you easily do to release oxytocin. So we're going to demonstrate that today. And so I do this in the organization, and some people love it, some people, we'll see. So what I'm going to ask you to do is stand up. And what we're doing is releasing oxytocin. So you're going to be releasing this hormone. And when you release this hormone, then you're going to be feeling a drive to bond and trust. So look at the person next to you and hug them. You need a hug. So, you can sit down. That's a way to get people standing up. So, if you know what my role is people in development, human resources. And generally in human resources, we tell people, be careful about the space, right? So I stand up in our organization and tell people to hug and say, I hope that's okay with you. So we're still good with the space. So we did a lot of work with Paul, and you'll see from some of the programs that we have in place, to really design around creating a new experience and creating that really drive to bond and building trust, because that was an issue for us. So then trust, we really have seen an increase in our employee voice of the employee scores ratings around trust. And then next we learned about this idea of unleashing human potential, which you heard about in the video, which is really then takes you beyond trust and brings you to joy and fulfillment. So joy and fulfillment is really for us where we're leading toward in the organization, and how do we get there? So the first thing that we've decided to do, as we've gone through this journey where we've done work on trust and really increasing our employee trust scores, we decided to then say, let's just set the goal to unleash human potential. And a way for us to find meaning to that was to say, let's just say our people strategies, our human resources strategies, are basically going to be called unleashing human potential. So every strategy that we put in place is tied to that goal of getting to joy and fulfillment. And joy and fulfillment, again, doesn't mean we're all happy and always say nice things to each other. It's about growth for our people and growth for the business. And we've seen really significant increases in not only our business results, but also with our people and their perception for us, for their overall ratings. So we do track the voice of the employee. We've seen from an average of, we have a scale 1 to 5, from an average of 3 years ago, we're up to the high 4s. And so we've seen significant increase in a short period of time. So we said, let's set the goal. But as you heard in the video, one of the things we need to do is have established a shared purpose and beliefs. So we've been working on our shared purpose and beliefs. You heard from David that one of our signature values is about first taking good care of each other. And that really is tied as well to this overall idea of conscious capitalism and this conscious leadership where we take care of all of our stakeholders. So first take good care of each other is about taking care of our shareholders. It's about taking care of our communities, our employees, our partners, our clients, our suppliers, our families. So that is really our signature. So again, ties into conscious capitalism, unleashing human potential, so we're aware of all of those stakeholders. And we're really creating this culture of learning and growth. So again, the first thing we did was we said, we've got all these concepts, ready, aim, shoot, ready, shoot, aim, right? We got all these concepts, so we said, how do we bring them together? So we set on the journey to create our purpose and belief statements. So all the things we've learned over these years are really captured in our purpose and belief statements. And we did this with several of our leadership teams across the organization, and it is still, I'll show you, it's in draft form. Because we're really at the stage where we've brought the leaders together across all of our different groups. We have 1,500 employees. So leadership teams have aligned, and our next step is we're going to bring it out to the employees and do some focus groups. Does it make sense from what their shared beliefs are, their own personal beliefs, and where they see the company going? So our purpose and who we are, we're an experienced company that strives to unleash the full potential of basically all the people whom we've touched. And our signature value, when you first come into the organization, the first thing you learn is first take good care of each other. And then our vision is really to transform business and people through our event experiences, or through the event experience. So one of the reasons why we even kind of went into this is also we've said that we're looking at our vision is to transform really people and business through the event experience. We're an event company, but we said, well, how are we going to do that if we don't really look to create a transformational experience for our own employees? How will they ever do that with our clients? So that's part of the reason why we've really kind of moved on this journey. So our belief statements are around what you've heard, a lot of the concepts around building trust in conscious capitalism, that the whole person matters. You'll see about some of the work we've been doing around coaching about how the whole person matters. We are believing that we keep our promises and are accountable to each other. So we have that embedded in some of the human resources plans that we have. And that our success is defined by, again, the growth in our people and our business. So we are always talking about business and people results. And we measure and celebrate them both. So this, really, what you're seeing is really what we have put together in our journey. And as we go out and talk to our employees, we tell people, we're on a journey together. Where in some ways we're experimenting. So we're going to make some mistakes, and we're going to fix them. So this is a draft that we'll go out to our team with this year. So kind of in the continued journey, there's some key things I wanted to talk to you about what we're actually doing on creating a different experience. So we talked about the listening and the voice of the employee, and we are using the science that we heard from in Charlotte's presentation to build trust. The fun example of stand up and hug each other. But we're using that in a new model that we're calling our aspirational coaching model. So when we came together as a leadership team and we said, we really need to really create a new experience for our people, we thought about what people told us around what we're doing or not doing right. And what people said was, we feel that you're authentic and you're honest now, but you're not talking to us. You're not talking to us about who we are as people. You're not really paying attention to us with our personal. You're not talking to us about our future and our career opportunities and advancement. So at that moment, we said, we're going to switch this up. We are going to just get rid of performance reviews. That's it. Performance reviews are one time, really painful. We're just telling you what you do or don't do. We're in a very compliance, fixed mindset. So we need to shift from that fixed mindset to a growth mindset. So we're just not going to have performance reviews. So we shifted to something called this aspirational coaching model. And this is something that where we talk to people about creating an opportunity for the future and thinking about their purpose, their life purpose. This is very different, and it was really different for the organization and not easy, especially in human resources. Today I'm people in development, but a year ago I was human resources, right? It's to move away from that compliance, I need to check off the box and make sure people are really following the checklist. It was really difficult. So today we have people talking about their life purpose and aligning it to the shared purpose of the organization. So it's not only talking about the past, so we still talk about performance, but we talk about their future. And their future doesn't necessarily always have to be about the company. Sometimes we can marry the two. So it's a new model that has really shifted the thinking in the organization. And we see from the employees coming into the organization, this is really new. And we see really the perception that we really have shifted for employees who've been there for a while, where we see in our overall ratings. And then another concept for us, and again, it ties to conscious capitalism, the unleashing human potential. As a member of the travel industry, we discovered a couple of years ago something that's pretty painful, where we as part of the travel industry are or have become unwitting partners to human trafficking. So we engaged with another organization called ECPAT, and this is a group that is dedicated to fight childhood trafficking, child trafficking, exploitation. So we engaged and became a partner where we have a commitment in our organization to create awareness across the world, because all of our employees are all across the world. They're at hotels, they're at airports, they have an opportunity to see what could be happening. So we create this awareness to fight human trafficking. So it's become part of who we are, part of our brand. It's not our social responsibility statement. It is part of that shared purpose of unleashing human potential, but it goes a little bit deeper, and it is looking at really allowing all humans to live to their potential. So we started this about 3 years ago, and again, it was one of those head scratchers for our employees and some of our leaders who said, what does this have to do with our business? So as we really began to educate people, we have built a groundswell of engagement in this. And our employees, we had a steering committee of 5 people. We have about 70 people on the steering committee. And we have people, when they talk about Merit's global events, they start off with that fight against human trafficking. So it's become our brand. And wherever we go and talk about it, we get people who want to learn more. And it's something that people who are connected with us are proud of and want to hear about it. So it's part of that whole transformational experience. The other thing I want to just briefly talk about is creating this new language. So we're really busy. I think like everyone here is, and we all want to check our messages. And it's really hard to stay in the moment. So we've introduced this new concept with the organization called white space. And it is a concept where we are using the language of white space to help and allow our employees to create time to think. So time to think in the workday, time to think at home. And it's things as simple as, how many emails do you get in a day? And you think you have to respond to them all. So we're actually teaching people about how to respond, how to send emails, and send them with a note. Perhaps this is just no action required. I'm on vacation. You send me a message, Marianne, no action required. It's thinking about thinking before you send the email. It's thinking, I have people that work with me who think they need to be on all the time, every weekend. Why? Because I send them emails all weekend. They think they need to respond. I say, no, you don't have to, I just want to send it to you. Respond on Monday. Well, when their boss is sending them the emails all weekend, they think they need to respond. So if I don't need to do it, I don't do it. So we're creating this new language in the organization called white space. We have an organization whom we're working with to really help us and develop this new language, to give people that opportunity to think, because we want people to grow and be innovative, and if they can't think, we won't be successful. And then finally, some new things we've incorporated into the organization, again, to really tie into this idea of celebration and unleashing human potential. This is around communications and meaningful communications. So we have recently launched something called Bonfire, and it is basically, it's kind of like Facebook for an organization. So our employees are all over North America, and many of them have never met each other. They've never seen the different offices. Many of them work from home. So they are constantly on Bonfire talking about their job, they're talking about their families, they're talking about perhaps they attended an event, they'll take pictures, and it is an opportunity for the organization and the culture to really come alive so people can see who they work for and who their peers are, because we're so really all over the world. So this is our opportunity to really continue to highlight unleashing human potential. So, joy. It is about the beach, I have to say. I get a lot of joy from the beach, but it really is about challenge and fulfillment. And when you think about that first take good care of each other, this is, and really that idea of the conscious culture, it is about thinking about all of your different stakeholders. It's your clients, it's your shareholders, it's your employees, it's your partners, your suppliers, your communities. And it really wraps up kind of where, that overall message around the conscious capitalism and unleashing human potential. So we're going to ask you to think about this and think about it with people at your table, and really just take some time perhaps to think about describing the purpose and values of your own organization. And perhaps how could you share some examples of how you've connected that purpose and values into the design of the experiences? So think about the experiences of your stakeholders. Again, could be your employees, could be your clients, could be your suppliers, your community. So I know we're at time, and I just want to thank you all for engaging and joining us this morning. It's really been a pleasure to be here. Thanks.